Somebody tweeted yesterday, like, it's still the 18th of January. That was like around
Yeah,
6 p.m. I was
right.
like, but actually that's true. The whole day was so, but today looks like it's gonna be pretty fast. So the month of January is not it's not like the January that we have January that we Januaried in the past. That has been January. There was how they put that in. This January is not like other January that I have January that we used to have. It was
What?
it was very it was very classic when I heard that stuff. But it's amazing to be back here on the radio again this morning. Super excited to be here. Summer was supposed to join us this morning, but she's a little bit under the weather. So yep,
Mm.
it's just gonna be us this morning. So just do well to send us a text or a WhatsApp message to be part of the headlines as we take you through the dailies this morning on the newspaper review. Yep.
And please be safe out there. That's very important. We're going to be starting off with the headlines. We're going to be starting off with the Punch newspaper, which says here Nigeria has enough facilities to store COVID-19 vaccines. National Primary Healthcare Development Agency boss stated this. And yesterday we had a headline that said something regarding, probably not having a facility for that. This coming from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency boss. School resumption, Nigeria Union of Teachers meets Thursday over COVID-19 rules, partial compliance recorded. Senate silent as President Buhari ignores National Assembly, appoints Director General of the National Directorate of Employment. And Governor Rotimi Akeredolu orders headsmen out of forest reserve and restricts gazing. And we have this headline which says here staggered attendance will curb spread of COVID-19 in Lagos. And Oyo State Assembly denies alleged 1 billion vehicle scam. Would like to get your own contribution on 07000 on 070 317 56537. We'll go to the Guardian newspaper.
Okay, yes, the Guardian has the headlines. Nigerian rail costs to exceed estimate by over 100%. And federal government releases 10 billion naira for COVID-19 vaccines production. And motorists groan over Third Mainland Bridge repairs. Lagos to auction 88 vehicles for violating traffic laws. A Nigerian Center for Disease Control COVID-19 rapid test kit unveils new guidelines. No COVID-19 test required for resumption for students, says federal government. At Ekiti, begin demolition of substandard buildings and 532 schools. This is the headlines of the Guardian to the this day newspaper.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And the This Day newspaper says here, Nigeria liquefied natural gas blames supply deficit for rising price of cooking gas. And President Buhari names Abubakar Nuhu Fikpo as of the National Directorate of Employment. Joint Admission and Matriculation Board suspends 2 officials, bans candidates for breach of COVID-19 protocols. Okay, I think we have to all now be mindful and we be careful. We observe all of the precautionary measures in whatever it is that we're doing. Your contribution once again on 070 317 56537.
The Nation has the headline, Rapid Test to Start in Schools, Workplace Soon. And also Ondo orders headers to quit forest. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission arraigned Mama Boko Haram for 41.7 million naira fraud. And also Lagos Chief Justice to new magistrate, limit your social activities. The pen pushing has the headline, Ogun State begin registration of 20,000 vulnerable for free healthcare. And Ondo State government Fulani headsmen to vacate. This are the headlines on the dailies this morning. Do well to be part of the conversation here by sending us on the dailies this morning. Do well to be part of the conversation here by sending us a text or a WhatsApp message on 070 317 565.
All right, and we're just going to start off with This Day newspaper this morning. This says here, federal government threatens schools' second lockdown with COVID-19 protocols. The federal government yesterday warned of another lockdown if Nigerians continue to disregard non-pharmaceutical interventions introduced to combat the spread of COVID-19. It also cautioned schools against demanding COVID-19 test results as a prerequisite for allowing it also cautioned schools against demanding COVID-19 test results as a prerequisite for allowing in students who resumed studies yesterday. And the resumption of schools was, however, characterized by low compliance with COVID-19 protocols in many states. And it also stated here that as the nation grapples with the outbreak of the second wave of COVID-19, Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has issued a health advisory to all churches in the country to check the rising infection rate. And at the briefing yesterday in Abuja, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 urged Nigerians to do everything possible to avoid a second lockdown in Nigeria by ensuring strict compliance with all of the non-pharmaceutical interventions. And Boss Mustafa, who is the chairman of the PTF, stated this, and he said this can be done by complying with the protocols. And we'll have a similar headline as well on the Nation newspaper. PTF, Nigerians must respect protocols to avoid second lockdown. The Presidential Task Force, PTF, on COVID-19 coronavirus control has assured Nigerians that vaccines will be administered in the country. The PTF chairman and secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, gave the assurance on Monday during a media briefing in Abuja. And he said the PTF would not rely on only the vaccine in its precaution of the National Response Plan, but will combine the solution with strong adherence to non-pharmaceutical interventions. And Mustafa also charged Nigerians to make all sacrifices necessary to prevent a second lockdown, pointing out that Nigeria is in a difficult situation, which is making the government to consider all options. This is our reality. COVID-19 is here, and we have to do everything possible to make sure that we stay safe. The government has put out, precautionary measures, non-pharmaceutical precautionary measures that we're supposed to observe. And the truth is, we have a greater number of people not complying with this. And it's so sad, and that shouldn't be, because we have to constantly be careful about that. So this is our reality, Daniel. And, there has been the caution at all times, from the government for us to observe all of the precautionary measures.
Yes. All right. So for the children who have had to go back to school because of the current situation of things in the country, I think one of the most important things that we need to address is the fact that there has to be high level of compliance. I was reading a report of some places where there were low level of compliance. The children themselves need to be properly oriented, especially the vulnerable children. That's especially those in public schools needs proper orientation, more orientation than the private school also need. All schools need orientation, but more concentration should be placed on the public school, because somebody was telling me yesterday, this public school around this Ogba Road, every time I passed there, that was even during not even during the pandemic now, but on a normal day, you see the flock of students coming out of that place. You would wonder how are they able to cope? The atmosphere, the environment. There's still a lot to deal with. So for me, it's still about everybody taking responsibilities, teachers themselves complying, the students complying, the children complying, understanding the times that we have found ourselves. I was reading a report also of NMA saying, this might actually increase the spike in the spread of the virus, because for children, a lot of children might be asymptomatic because of the immunity. Their immune systems are still very strong and viable, and they're going to go home to adults, older persons who might not have the same good system as theirs. So it's still a matter of what are we doing to ensure that these children are properly taken care of. Now, it should be that, they might have to be a little. I was thinking of it this morning that, for uniforms, there might have to be like some sort of, what's the word now? The word is not excuse. Like, there should be less concentration on the uniform, which is essential though. Like, because some of these public schools students have just 2 uniform or 1 uniform, and they'll have to wear it the whole week. You don't know what's going to be on their uniforms the whole week. So,
apparently, you might just necessarily have to be washing it every day because you have to come to school with your school uniform.
And these are things that needs to be properly checked. Even the the status of the child needs to be
But
checked.
apparently that is what should be done.
Yes.
Because of the pandemic. You are
Yes.
actually supposed to be washing
Wear
that
clothes
every
one day.
day.
You're supposed
Yes.
to wash it before you wear it again.
Yes, and second
Also,
time.
some of these children might not have the pandemic. Some of them might be hungry. They might be coming from homes where they have not been able to feed, but they have to go to school. So these welfare packages needs to be provided for these children in terms of providing for them food. I don't know what's going on with the school feeding program. As the last time I heard, it was paused, but now I hope the school feeding program will come back, because it's important to know the extension of what this program can do if it is done with every sense of sincerity. I was listening to a particular documentary of they have the school feeding programs in the US. In some states in the US have the school feeding program. And then one documentary I was watching, the principal was saying this might be the only food the child might eat the whole day. So it's important that there's continuous supply for this. Even facilities, we don't even have. Children have to go back to homes where they don't have access to enough water, detergents, and all. These things need to find better ways to provide some of these services. Here in Nigeria, our public schools wear uniform. Over there in the States, they do not, so they have clothes.
It depends on the school for them.
Just clothes. So this is my own concern now is let also be able to lend a helping hand. If you have space in your car, you see children, wave you down, flag you down. Just keep your stuffs properly. Give them a lift. It now requires us to really come together and work together.
Give someone lift right now.
Yes.
Everyone is actually going to be very careful. That's another
also
thing.
Still trying to be careful.
Yeah. But then again, I'm looking at the compliance level. Now we're talking about the second lockdown, and the PTF boss that's the PTF chairman, that's Boss Mustafa, has said that if compliance to the COVID-19 protocol is not taken seriously, there might be a second lockdown. And we all knew what happened during the first lockdown. We don't want a repeat of that to happen. The government now, at all costs, shutting down the nation. That is what it is. At this point, we're struggling with a recession. We are struggling with our economy to balance back. There's so much. And there was a whole lot of hunger that period. People just had to be helping your neighbor. You do this no matter how little you can help with. That was what was happening all through that period. So please, we don't look forward to a second lockdown, because if that happens, I don't know what's going to happen to Nigerians, the common man on the street or the common woman on the street who has to make daily earnings to be able to feed.
Okay. Yes. Still a lot to be done. Coronavirus is here. But for the market women, the best we can say right now is let them take care of themselves. Let there be more orientation in these marketplaces for people. I'm still saying, we have relaxed on even the orientation that we were doing during the coronavirus. There were so many jingles coming from Lagos state government, coming from federal government. The text messages, why did they stop? Let them keep sending it. NCDC, keep sending the messages, Let these messages still be put out there. Let provisions be made at marketplaces. I haven't been to a physical market in a very long time, but I don't know what's the provision for water, no entry without nose mask. They have tax force who are collecting tax from these market women daily. What are they doing at the entrance, ensuring that anybody coming to the market has a nose mask and somebody selling nose masks at the entrance? These basic things needs to be provided by the agencies that are there. The federal government, state government cannot do this. That's why this tax force can come up with the initiative. No nose masks, no entry into the market. Same with Computer Village, no nose masks, no entry into the Computer Village. And that is already something that has been enforced. So all of these things, we might need to go back to the time lapse on markets, where after 3 o'clock, market has to close. These things have to be put out there so that, we are not having people crowded. So people know that, I need to go to the market between this time and be out of the market. So not that the market is open all day long.
All right. Thank you very much. 20 minutes past 8 on Women Radio 91.7. You can be a part of the newspaper review on 070-317-56537, and we'll definitely get to read out your messages. But we'll have this headline still under this day newspaper. Buhari pledges Nigeria's commitment to promotion of good governance. President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday emphasized the commitment of Nigeria to enthronement of democracy and good governance in Africa. Speaking in Abuja at a virtual support mission and signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between Committee of Heads of State and Government participating in African Peer Review Mechanism and Nigeria on the ongoing second peer review process. The president said Nigeria has constantly supported the strengthening of democracy and good governance throughout Africa, including under the umbrella of the African Peer Review Mechanism. And this is quoting him now: "We remain fully committed to promoting the good governance practice enshrined in the ideals and vision of new partnership for Africa's development, which gave birth to this new mechanism. And Nigeria will continue to support Africa's renewal and rebirth, evident in the collective commitment to this review in order to consolidate Africa's path to healthy democracy and sustainable growth." This was what he stated. And he also hailed the progress made so far in the African Peer Review Mechanism as self-monitoring tool to addressing governance deficits in Africa as we conform to our shared values in areas of democracy, political governance, economic governance, corporate governance, and socio-economic development.
So
this is the government right now, still reiterating good governance, which apparently everyone is looking forward to, because at the long run, that is what democracy is: promoting good governance and ensuring that the government is basically for the people.
Well, that is the fundamental reasons for voting anybody into persons we have voted into power, especially the governors, the state governors. A total of 11,000 people is what we vote into power at all levels, cut across all levels, from state government, from local government, council, straight up to Mr. President, is about 11,000 people. And the first essential reasons why they are there, that's a byproduct of good governance. Government say they would continue to, ensure good governance. I think there's still a lot more to be done, because I'm not sure they have ensured good governance over the years. They have been in this current administration have been in power for over 5 years and counting. So it's important that they stand by their words. Enough of the lip service being paid on the newspapers, but we want to see more actions. With the insecurity, with the times that we have found ourselves right now, there is more to be done.
Okay, thank you very much for that. 070-317-56537 is the studio line to send your WhatsApp or text messages to. And on the Nation newspaper, Commissioner, school best kept open for vulnerable kids. Lagos State's Education Commissioner, this is Folashade Adefisayo, has said keeping schools open is best for vulnerable children. But she said the decision to open schools was a tough one for the government. And Adefisayo, who spoke yesterday while monitoring COVID-19 compliance among pupils, public and private schools across the state, said the government opened schools despite having the highest cases in the country. And the commissioner said the decision was meant to keep children safe. And in her own words, the reason school, it's the federal government's directive, also looking at the situation, a difficult decision to take. It has given us all sleepless nights. I don't think I have slept in days. At times, shuddering, God, please help us. But what we found is that the most vulnerable children are really going through a terrible time when asked to stay at home. And she also said that, did you notice that when we're coming, there were children all over the streets. They were not staying at home. They were going to the market, hawking, going to play with friends. And for many of them, they were working children, house helps, mechanics, bus conductors. And so they further exposed. This was what was stated by the commissioner. But then a similar headline on the Punch newspaper here says, schools resumption, NUT meets Thursday over COVID-19 rules partial compliance record. The Nigerian Union of Teachers on Monday, amid concern about the rise in coronavirus cases, said it will on Thursday hold a meeting on the pandemic and compliance with COVID-19 protocols in schools across the country. The Secretary General of the NUT, Mike Ene, stated this while during an interview in Abuja as primary and secondary schools in many states reopened with partial compliance with COVID-19 safety rules. And while schools in some states observed safety rules such as social distance and hand washing, others disregarded them as classrooms were overcrowded. And the NUT Secretary Ene said Thursday's meeting will reveal compliance with COVID-19 protocols with the aim of ensuring safety of teachers and their pupils. And when asked to comment on the safety rules in schools, and he stated, "I cannot tell you whether anybody is complying with COVID-19 protocols in states. I have never asked anybody because since we are all going to speak on it, there is no point calling anybody. We have called NEC, that's the National Executive Committee meeting, for Thursday to look at how the resumptions have been." First of all, I think before the whole idea of schools resuming, there was supposed to have been the Commissioner of Education, the Ministry of Education, doing something about going to schools to ensure that COVID-19 protocols were observed. Now, when I mean they were observed, the precautionary measures like giving provision for hand washing, water, running water, hand washing, soap, and some other protocols that need to be observed. So should have been officials that should go to schools to actually go to observe. And now also, in your own opinion, sending children to school and, for them not to go out on the streets, do you think that is the solution to this?
So a lot of people might want to look at it from different angles, but I had to, when I read that headline early this morning, I thought of it from two different angles. The vulnerable 100% have been left in the black, in the dark, all through the pandemic. They have not had access to education. They have not had access to anything at all. Thank God for NGOs like that of Julius, who were doing community learning. NGOs who took up initiative, young Nigerians who took up the initiative of, okay, there's an adult in this community. You have 10 kids in your compound. What are the classes you can take them on? Those were initiatives by young people. But apart from that, there was no agenda by the Lagos State government or by the federal government in particular, on how to continue learning outside of the school environment. So the truth is, we needed to open the school for the vulnerable. That's the only way they would have learned. If not for NGOs like Slum to School, a couple of other NGOs like that who took up the initiative of schooling some of these children in their communities. Maybe on one street, you pick a location, and maybe on that street, there are just 10 children in primary 5. They come every Monday, or they come Mondays, Wednesday, Friday, between this time and this time, and then they created a table for them. But what did the Lagos State government do? The Lagos State government even tried. They had the TV station, the Lagos television, show some
radio stations, actually.
And the radio station do some of these classes online. But how many of these children had access to it in terms of, was there power supply? Did they have transistor radio? Do their parents even have, their parents would go out to hustle every single day. So they are left alone at home and they are left blank. So we had no choice. I would agree with the commissioner that we had no choice but to open the school because the vulnerable were, honestly speaking, they were lagging a lot behind. On the issue of compliance, I would say that we haven't done a great job. The Lagos State government has not, the federal government has not done a great job in terms of ensuring that there is full compliance. First and foremost, there's so many reasons to question the level of compliance. I don't know, when schools were locked between December and January, were the schools fumigated again? Were they disinfected? These are things we need to ask, because now the federal government is saying that students do not need COVID-19 tests to resume school. But then what measures did you put in place? You said that there was going to be a spike, and we are seeing this. Imo State governor has come out and said that there's a spike in the rise of COVID-19 cases in his state. The federal government said so. We saw the number of cases go up daily.
Mm,
And we opened these schools. What was the measures that were put in place?
mm.
There's still a lot that needs to be done. We just hope that they fix these things on time.
Okay. Thank you very much. 29 minutes to 9 on Women Radio 91.7. And you're definitely listening to the newspaper review. We'll take contributions now, but you can also drop a message for us on 070 317 56537. Jerry from Peace Estate Barrow said, NIN registration should be continuous process. Closing registration today will be counterproductive to the purpose is meant for. But regarding NIN registration, I think it's the linking of your NIN to, that's the national identification number, to your SIM card. Is, I think that's the one that has the deadline today. People have actually been registering for the national identification number. So the national identification number registration for me, I think, is still ongoing. I'm not sure there is anything. Request Stevens from Ikoton saying, good morning, Bukola and Daniel. Now, parents are asked to sit at home while their children are in school. What an irony. Well, since this is the position we find ourselves, I implore our government and relevant authorities and we parents to be proactive in protecting our wards. It is no more lamb's tail. COVID-19 is real and here in Nigeria. Thank you very much for your contribution. And additional Wasiu from Ikorodu says, hello in the studio. From all indications, Fulani headsmen as known to be created, as we know, to be, created insecurity in the nation, and elected governor of Ondo State said, please leave our forest, and they're still not. Oh, and they still don't want to leave. Now, the Ondo State government has actually given a 1 week ultimatum. And if you want to do your business, do ranch for now. Thank you very much. And it says, on this COVID-19, the way this is spreading, I'm afraid, and just 24 hours, we have 14 dead Nigerians. Be careful. Nigerians, be very careful. This COVID is real. And Nigeria will. Okay, thank you very much for your contribution. I'm actually struggling to comprehend some of the things that you have actually sent to us. But you can 070 317 56537. And this says here, the scenario of evolving puts a question mark on the government's effort at containing COVID-19. Containing COVID-19 and should provide the leadership at making sure people comply. King Ade, thank you very much for your contribution. And it also says here, saying the school feeding program exists is like giving sanity to a madhouse. It is a white elephant project. How many pupils can come out to say they were fed? All right, thank you for your contribution. And Dr. G from Akute says, all we hear from the PTF every day are take precautionary measures, wear mask, wash your hands, wash your legs, sanitize your hands and nose. None of them have ever said, let's pray. Remember, Tanzania prayed and they are free. Kogi's faith has saved them thus far. If only. And we have Tony from Birmingham saying that on order by the governor of Ondo State to lawbreakers in the state. Well, he is only re-echoing the alarm raised previously by Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, retired General T.Y. Danjuma, and many others. Nigerians should note that foreigners are flooding at a very dangerous rate, while people are sleeping with their two eyes, thinking all is well. Thank you very much for your contribution there, Tony, this morning. And some WhatsApp messages are just dropping. This says, good morning. I will only register if the process becomes less tedious. So I'm encouraging the government to block my line since inflicting hardship on defenseless masses has become their MO. Also, on COVID-19, Nigerians have handed their fate over to providence. Closure of schools, whether is whatever is an excuse in futility. Thank you, Chike from Akuti, for your contribution. And we have Mr. Wale from Peace Estate, Barua and Ikwaja. Banjul newspaper review on persons with bullet wounds. It is better to save the life first and get the person information. God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much for your contribution. And Molu from Okiaro. Good morning, WFM team. Having schools open is the best way forward. For how long will schools be closed? Forever? The best way out is to confront the monster head on. Go to school and comply with the measures to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Thank you for your contribution. Wale Matthew from Ikwaja says this morning, these days, for the NIM, federal government, over 80 million to register in a limited time and still want people to observe COVID rule. Very funny. Thank you very much for your contribution. But you can still send in your own contribution on 070 317 56537. The Punch newspaper says here, telcos submit 43 million NINs and NIMC for verification. And I think mine is actually included. All right, about 43 million national identity numbers have been submitted by telecommunication companies to the National Identity Management Commission for verification in order to have them registered with their respective subscriber identification models. Also, as the deadline for telephone subscribers with NINs to register their SIMs with the identification numbers elapses today. So I think people who are thinking it is the NIN registration that ends today, it is not the NIN registration. It is you registering your SIM with linking your SIM with the NIN number that expires today.
That's January. For those who already have.
For those who already have the NIN, all right. January 19, 2021, operators have said that the SIMs with unlinked submitted national identity numbers would not be blocked. It was also gathered that so far the NIMC had been able to provide about 45 million NINs as it was able to register about 2 million people in the last 1 month after the federal government ordered citizens to register their SIMs and valid NINs. And on December 15, and source to the commission confirmed that they noted that the crowd that greeted the agency after the government's directive has been overwhelming. And on December 15, 2020, the federal government declared that after December 30th, that's like 15 days interval, December 30th, 2020, all SIMs that were not registered with valid NINs on the network of telecommunication companies would be blocked. Now, there was the extension from then to January 19th, which is today, and was still unable to achieve this.
First, I'd like to question 2 million people in 1 month. I want to know how they were able to achieve that. I really want a more elaborate data to tell us such amount of people to register. I do not think they've been able to register 2 million people in the last 1 month. I think they might have been able to do less than that. I feel the maximum they would have done in the last
but then we can actually really calculate for them, right?
But I did want to have a more elaborate detail on that. If they are able to register 2 million people in 1 month, and we have approximately about 80 to 100 million people that needs to register, so maths right. So
in 18
if
months,
it takes 1 month, that's 1 month equals 1 month to 2 million.
So that's like it's 40
so
months.
100. That's about how many months?
40
months. If we do the maths, that's 3 years. Abby? Yes, 40 months to be about 3 years or more. 3 years and some months to be able to cover up for that. So it is unrealistic in the first instance to have come out and say everybody should go and register and link their SIMs card to their NIN. I think this just shows the capacity level of the persons that we have put in positions of authority. It should even
But
question.
I think this can be done in a year if we have enough centers. I think the problem is the fact that we don't have enough centers. I don't know. That's what I feel.
I don't even think it's
'Cause
about enough centers, though, because
the-
if you look
enough
at elections,
centers-
look at elections, we have
Mhm.
we have about 86 million registered voters.
Mhm.
In the last election, we had a little over 15 million voters come out to vote. And there was crowd. Some centers still had to take time. And this was even okay, let's say because the election was one day, right?
Yes.
And let's say, okay, if it's every day like that,
If it's every day,
like
I
that,
feel
every day
if
like that for 1 year.
probably to go to local governments, you can have up to like 4 or 5 places where you can register at different local in different local governments. I feel you won't have, so much crowd. Though Nigerians already have this mentality of, oh, they say there is something you have to do, everybody.
But do not forget that this issue of national registration is not just adults. It's not just above 18. A child,
I understand
should register
the fact that everybody is registering. That's why I said if there are more centers created,
yes,
this will ease all of this struggle, and we won't have so many people just crowding the whole place.
Somebody tweeted, I encourage you to do your worst. Well, we just keep watching.
I actually read it as well like that here.
I saw that tweet that I encourage you to do your worst. And I'm like, no. But please, if we have
But then I think it is very important
Mhm.
that, yes, probably the approach to which the government is going by it is not really friendly to the people. But then it's very important that you have an NIN, that's the national identification number. It is a form of the government. There are so many documentations that you have to make now. If you don't have your identification numbers, you might not be able to complete it.
That's what's supposed to have been from the very
beginning. So
from the very beginning.
it's very important that we have it. Don't see it as, oh, okay, why is the government just coming up with this?
Yes.
Let us try our bit, but then we'll keep talking about, ways in which the government can make it easy for the people.
The truth is, this is a very big fault on the part of the government, and they have failed to own up to it, that they failed in ensuring that this was a very important prerequisite in filling up documents. In other parts of the world, when you have a social security number or your national number, you are filling every document. There is a spot that they say, fill this number, because it's more like that verifies your nationality with
the country.
But the fact that we have passports, we have we had other means of identifications that were also certified by the federal government.
But then
like your driver's license,
it's not everyone that
passport.
has that. It's not everyone that has the international passport. It's not everyone that has the driver's license.
Passport, you need your
NIN. Need the NIN.
But the driver's license before, you didn't need it. Now they have included it that if you're doing your driver's license and your vehicle particulars, you need it. So now, this is a big fault on the federal government, on the government that initiated this and understood the importance of these things and have not properly affected. It's funny how they enforced all the banks to give everybody BVN, and they couldn't think of this at the same time, because this could have been done simultaneously in certain ways, because as at some certain points, you need some standard level of identification to register to open a bank account, right?
Okay.
And that we have progressed with that, and we're making huge progress. But what we need now with the NIN is for the government to go back to the drawing board, re-strategize, and come up with a well-structured plan. The reason why this is even looking more dangerous, or the reason why this looks like the government is an unserious element, is the fact that there is a pandemic out there, and we are trying to curb the spread of the pandemic, and then you say people should go out and register. It makes no sense. There needs to be a more structured plan put in place. The capturing and biometric that needs to be done. If JAM could do it in centers, registered centers,
delegated
to do your capturing and biometrics, what then is the problem? And then when you go to your JAM center, the moment you put your fingerprint, it pops out. Same with NYSC. You go to a center, you capture, you do your biometric. When you get to the orientation camp, by the time you put your fingerprint, wherever because I schooled in Abeokuta here. I was posted to Sokoto. I camped in Cape. When I got to Cape, I put my fingerprint on the biometric machine. It popped out my details. So this is achievable. We just need these people a more structured plan to achieve this.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daniel, for that. And we just take some text messages and WhatsApp messages, but you can send yours to 070-317-56537. Bernard Agbo from Bariga says, good morning, Newspaper Review crew. On the directive by the Ondo State government to headsmen to vacate is not a solution. The solution is anti-open grazing prohibition law in the southern and middle belt of Nigeria. Those states who love the practice of open grazing in the northern Nigeria are free to do so. The situation is Benue State is that of the situation in Benue State is that of the one that meets the eyes. So any so annoying the people in my local government can no longer access their ancestral land, talk less of farming. Thank you very much for your contribution. Akin from Ikorodu says, when COVID is spiking um, high is the time they said children, toddlers should resume school, but called for NIN registration that caused the crowd, and they claim to be fighting COVID. Told the government workers who are adults to stay at home. We have an irresponsible, all right, it is painful that some parents too will carry their children to resume school because themselves are not are careless. Nigerians love disorderliness, lawlessness, recklessness, carelessness, and wickedness. A dying guy yet asking him why he had laptop. Please haven't learned at all. Greedy politicians is the problem of Nigeria. We must never negotiate with bad leadership. Thank you so much for that. Mufa Stevens from Ikotu. We can all see how good governance has been ensured with the COVID-19 palliative, how it was rarely ensured with serious hunger. The people cannot be fooled anymore, except the common man decides to continue making fools of themselves with the self-afflictions of tribal, religious sentiment and political jingoism. Good governance is non existent in Nigeria. Thank you very much for your contribution there. And Rose Inje Olawale Muti from Malakware says, good morning, my dear presenters. I pray the 10 billion release for the production of COVID-19 local vaccine is squandered or shared among stakeholders so Nigeria can have a place in history of preferring solution to ravaging pandemic. The money should be judiciously monitored. Imagine Nigerians struggling to emerge as the new IG. They are coming to do nothing different from from their predecessors than to squander the force money and make their foot soldiers snapped life off people peanut. Now Nigeria will survive and Allah bless Nigeria. Thank you very much for your contribution there. And Mr. Wale still says, in response to the Ondo Herdsmen Directive, our constitution allows Nigerians to reside anywhere. Okay, thank you for your contribution there. And Tony still says this NIN of a thing should have never been a decision for today because the same groups that have been truncating this effort in the past are now trying to rush through for motives only known to them. Thank you very much for your contribution. Anderson from Itoki says, good morning, WFM. Buhari should stop playing prank talking about good governance. We Nigerians had lost hope in Buhari's government, a government that is playing nepotism, one-sided on employment and tribalistic by nature. Okay? Thank you very much for your contribution there. Daniel and Bukola, the people are getting frustrated with the government's cumbersome and analogic means of calculating for collating information and identification, international passports, voters' cards, national ID cards, LASRA, driver's license, and many other means of identification. So many, yet no clear cut plan of registration with ease. The centers are always crowded, rowdy, and annoying, especially when you spend hours on queue on empty stomach, right? Thank you very much, Mofe Stevens. I know of someone who tried registering on Saturday. I know she literally left the house without eating And she was like, I'm about to faint here. I'm going to faint here. I'm hungry. This is everyone trying their own best to make sure everything is done. And but then it's like the whole process is cumbersome. We'll just take the last headline. Nigeria has enough capacity for vaccine storage. The executive director, CEO of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, and Faisal Shaibu, said on Monday that the country has adequate storage facility for COVID-19 vaccines, especially for the first 1,000 doses expected from the Pfizer in a few days. Pfizer, and he said, we have developed a comprehensive COVID-19 vaccine development and vaccination plan. We have also developed an operational manual to roll out vaccines that would, when they come, we encourage Nigerians to get vaccinated when vaccines become accessible, because the benefits of the vaccines far outweighs the potential side effects. I want to reiterate the first set of vaccines expected in the country is the Pfizer Biotech and the mRNA vaccine, and equipment that is required to store them is ultra cold chain. Equipment for storage of the vaccines are available at the National Strategic Cold Store of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agencies in the Airport Road, FCT. Now, this is what it is, and I'm happy that we have come that the executive director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency has come to clear the air with regards to storage facilities.
Okay, so I think I'd like to just keep my fingers crossed, because they have mentioned just one place where all the vaccines would be kept. Are they not planning to transport
some of this into other parts of the country?
You said you have a storage facility to store them. Fine. Okay, I accept. What about transporting these vaccines to the places where they are needed? What are the provisions that have been made? Helicopters, storage facilities to keep them at that temperature.
To other parts of the country.
All through the flight.
Because this is not just supposed to be for the FCT.
Trip. Yes, this is not just supposed to be for the federal capital. Is that the only place? If, according to the stats, there has been a distribution plan that has been made for how many each states are going to get. I think the list is going to go to Nasarawa State. I think they are getting about 600 or something, but Lagos is getting about 3,000 plus. How are they planning to move this from Abuja to Lagos if it's on a flight from Abuja to Lagos, which is about 45 minutes flight, and then from the flight from there to the isolation centers where these vaccines are going to be kept, where what storage facilities have been provided? We need to make very calculated statements on the newspaper and not just jump at every critique that has been put out there. It's okay for us to critique the government and say, you are ordering a vaccine that has to be stored at minus 70 degrees Celsius. You have not consistently provided power at the isolation centers. So these are questions that needs to be asked. How do we even have the capacity? I still want to say I'm not 100% certain that we have what it takes to bring those vaccines into the country, and we'll be kept in the dark again. All we will hear is vaccines have been distributed. Who are where these vaccines
distributed?
Yes, because when something is at minus 70, I don't know what the vaccine would look like. I'm not sure if it's going to get frozen at minus 70 degrees because maybe because it's a vaccine, it might just be cold. But then there is a lot to be worried about, because we understand the lack of structure that our government have always possessed, the lack of competence that they have displayed over time, and the crash work they like to do is what has made people question the capacity of the government to be able to not just only secure the vaccines, but also be able to keep it at the desired temperature.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you very much for dropping a message for us and being a part of the newspaper review. We have come to the end of the newspaper review. Please stay safe out there. Observe all the precautionary measures. That is the best option we have for now. The vaccines are not going to come in, now. They are looking forward to having them come in later in the year, towards, the first quarter of the year. But then let us make sure we observe all of the precautionary measures. Thank you, Daniel. And please stay safe out there. I am Bukola Balogun. Good morning.
We are WFM 91.7, the voice of women, using radio as a tool for women development. We condemn the abuse of women, girls, and children in any shape or form. WFM 91.7, the voice of women.
Naija no dey carry last. That is why we push